Hi, Jackie.
How are you?
I'm doing well. It's nice seeing you every day.
I know. I'm enjoying James's calls so much.
Good, good.
I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
me too. I've enjoyed it a lot. I feel like I get a lot out of it every day.
I know. And I'm thinking, when all this is over with, I hope we continue it. I mean, this is our new 66-day habit that we're forming,
It
right?
is. It has been. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm like, hello.
Oh, good.
Maybe he will continue it, at least
Oh,
something.
yeah, yeah. I'll be curious once Bold starts in the next couple weeks if he feels like he's gonna be able to do that. But I hope he does.
Right,
Hey, look
right.
at that! It's our very own Jeff Borham. I'm so grateful to be here, Jeff.
Hey, how are you? It's 10:30.
Yeah,
There's Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
How's it
Hi,
going?
Amanda.
Amanda,
How is everyone?
doing
Good.
doing well.
All right, so we're gonna give it just a minute or two before we really get started. In the meantime, though, just to set some ground rules, this is 1,000% participatory. So what's cool about doing your own mastermind class is we can do whatever we want. So that's what's awesome. So if we're ever going down a bunny trail that is not appropriate per you guys or not appropriate per us, we can kind of put that on hold and make sure we're going the direction that we need to. Does that sound fair?
Sounds good.
There.
This is what's awesome about Zoom as well is you guys can just turn your camera off if you need a potty break or if you need to get a coffee or anything. So we're not really going to do a formal break. So just take a break if you need one on your own accord. If you are sitting at your desk, put your camera on so we can see you. Let's interact. Me looking at some dark squares and names isn't exactly fun and high energy to talk for 2 hours. So everybody participate. Let's see your faces.
Jeff, were you guys gonna record this event?
That's a great question. Taylor did not say whether or not that was going to happen. She's the one who's.
Yeah, I actually just sent you a text, but you guys are probably all setting up and stuff. This is being recorded. It'll be posted in Dan, our golf side thing, and then Jeff and Amanda, I will send you guys a copy of the video as soon as Zoom posts it out to me.
Okay,
Since
can I
it's being
get a copy
recorded,
as
I'll
well?
be PP.
Yeah, all the agent services coordinators are going to be copied on it, and they'll be sending it out to everybody through their way of sending the mass video. So everybody will be able to have access to it.
Good.
Now, am I allowed to sit through this if I'm not on your team?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
I was saying, can I sit through and observe even though I'm not on your team?
This is not for our team. This is
Oh,
for
okay, good.
everybody. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's take the next minute or two. Are there any specifics that all of you would love to hear us touch on that would make the next couple hours a win for all of you?
Do you want us to jot those down in the chat room?
That would be great. Yeah.
I'm on my cell phone, so I can keep up with those.
Okay.
And can you all hear us okay? Does it sound good?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. So then it is, we've delayed long enough. It is 10:33. So we're just going to kind of jump in. And what this mastermind really is us just literally telling you our story. And during that story, I'm going to discuss mindset. I'm going to discuss lead gen changes at all the different pillars and growth points in our business. So it's really just our story with all the lessons that we've learned along the way. Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna get started. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Jeff Borham. This is Amanda Dahl. Say hi. We are Team Borham, of course. We're in the Palm Harbor Market Center. Our current team is 18 people. That is 10 agents, 2 ISAs, and 6 support staff. So we are definitely support staff heavy. We are currently hiring for additional agents as well, and we have multiple people in the career visioning process at the moment. Where did we come from, right? So I'm a native of Palm Harbor. You are from
Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile, Alabama, right? And she doesn't normally talk like that, just when she says where she's from. So you can laugh at my jokes, it's okay. All right, so I got into real estate when I was 20 years old. I actually 19, I bought a house, I flipped it by accident. Then I started selling condo conversions, then I got into new construction. As you all know, if you were in real estate back in 2007 and 8, things changed. So if you were in real estate in 2007 or 8, raise your hand. If I can't see you because you still don't have your camera on and you were dressed appropriately, please put your camera on. It really is more fun when we can see you guys and interact, and you guys can unmute yourself, interject questions and so forth. So obviously real estate changed in 07 and 08. I got out of the on-site sales business and then joined a commercial brokerage in 2009, learned the commercial side of real estate in 09, 2010, and 11. Obviously as the market shifted, I was starting to sell a lot of real estate to friends of mine on the residential side. So I decided to interview all the big residential companies such as Keller Williams, Coldwell, Remax, all the typical guys. We obviously decided on Keller Williams as the best fit. I joined the Palm Harbor office December 8th, 2011. And in 2012, 13, and 14, really started off just kind of winging it, didn't really do anything. And then I was lucky enough to have Howard Weinstein come into my life. Most of you know Howard. He's amazing. I love him. And because of Howard, I started going to every Keller Williams education event because Howard said something to me that was very powerful. He said, and this is all the way back in 2012 when I was a $2 million producer. Howard said, Jeff, you have the potential to be a $20 million producer. And I snapped back and said, I could be a $40 million producer. And yet the key there was potential, right? And obviously I was not living up to my potential as a $2 million producer. Would you agree? And then who on this call is not living up to their potential as well? And for me, I kind of use the analogy of Back to the Future. Who likes Back to the Future? So Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future, if you called him chicken, what happened? Guys, unmute yourself, talk to me.
Want to fight?
Because remember, if I was teaching this in person, when I would ask a question, you all would answer, right?
Yes.
So the only difference between in person and right now is you've got to unmute yourself. So that's it. And then participate. So for me, the whole potential word was kind of like chicken. So when I'm like, I'm not living up to my potential, I need to do something about that. Has anyone ever been there? Have a similar experience?
Yes. Definitely. Going through it now.
Yeah. And we have to have this self-realization. And Amanda will tell you that one of the favorite quotes that I say, I learned from Seth Campbell, is that people judge themselves on their intentions and they judge other people on their actions, right? I say that all the time. And what's interesting about that is if we all judged ourselves on our actions and not our intentions, what would happen to our businesses? Right? Because you would actually do what you're supposed to do, right? So that's the key right there in a nutshell. If you have to jump off, you can literally learn all you need to right there. Is if we can put the mechanisms in place through peer accountability, through self-accountability, through coaching, so that we actually judged ourselves on our intentions, you don't need me anymore. Doesn't that make sense? So yes. That's always a fascinating aha. Does anyone have an aha around that? What's the question?
Oh, no, these were from earlier. Somebody said today's Howard's birthday.
Oh, okay. All right, we should probably do a video and say happy birthday to Howard. There you go.
So Deanne, we're gonna get to this, right? This will be the evolution of our story. So I figured.
All right, so that's the backstory, guys. If you have any thoughts or questions come to mind, you can. I really want you guys to unmute yourself and participate. At the very least, Amanda's phone's right here, so we can see questions come in the chat. All right, so I kind of set the stage there. So in 2013 and 14, I was slowly starting to get serious, meaning I was going to every education event in Keller Williams, and my production was starting to go up. I sold 2013, we sold 5.5 million. 2014, we sold 8.5 million, and yet that was still winging it. That was still just kind of going with the flow. We didn't get serious until 2015. So there was this whole mindset shift, and I'll tell you the story of what caused the mindset shift. I was at Mega Camp in 2014 in Austin, Texas for Mega Camp. I believe it was September that year. And at Mega Camp, they used to break you out into mastermind groups based off of your GCI, right? So back then, my brother and I were business partners. So our GCI was split in 2014. So 8.5. So I was put into a room with people that had done between 60,000 in GCI and 120. And I was already leading a tiny mini team of my brother and I and a part-time assistant, and we were doing 8.5. And I'd been at every Keller Williams training on the planet. So my mind and knowledge was already that of a $20-30 million producer. So I'm sitting in this mastermind group, and it was the most painful thing that I've ever been through at a mastermind, because you all hear the whole, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room, right? Guess who the smartest person in that room was? I'll give you one guess.
You.
Yeah, I was the smartest person in the room by apparently a lot. And that was so painful for me. So I had that whole flashback of Howard saying, Jeff, you're not living up to your potential. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, how can I have all of this knowledge and yet the results aren't showing up? Well, the answer to that's pretty darn simple. If you have the knowledge to do something and yet the results aren't showing up, what's missing? Activity. Activity, right? So I had to retrain my brain, because I was brainwashed as a child from watching G.I. Joes that knowledge was half the battle. And now I knew that knowledge wasn't half the battle. In fact, knowledge is useless if you don't do anything with it. Have you all ever had that realization? Like, hey, I know this information and yet I haven't done anything with it, so nothing's coming of it.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody should tell those G.I. Joe riders to change that to knowledge is half the battle when you implement it, right? Just saying. Normally I get a lot of laughs on that line.
Never watched G.I. Joe.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, Joe, though, right?
Muted.
Yes.
Well, I want everyone to unmute themselves. You don't need to be muted. Unless you've got a lot of background noise, there's no reason to be muted.
We won't stop asking until you do it.
Have you noticed one of the other reasons why I'm successful is persistence? I mean, I'm going to keep nagging you guys to unmute and participate for 2 hours. So there you go. All right. So I had this aha of, obviously I wasn't living up to my potential. We've all been there. We all have this mindset, and that's what we need to change, right? So then some other developments happened. My son was born in December of 2014 on Christmas. So that was quite the blessing. He's a crazy little 5-year-old now. And I'm not going the way some of you probably think. It wasn't that I had this awakening, that I had this big why and all this because of my son. I actually, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, of course, it's just, my opinion. And obviously there's one-offs for everything. For most of us, kids and grandkids are not whys. They're little whys that can lead to a big, powerful why. Yet your kids are not your why if you're making enough money to house them, feed them, and meet their needs, right? Because the most powerful thing on the planet, by the way, is a high S woman who has kids and she needs to support them. Once they're being supported, though, they're not your why typically, right? So just throwing it out there. They can definitely be little wise, yet nobody's going to go from making 150,000 a year to $1 million because they have a kid. Because if you're making 150,000 a year, you can take care of the kid. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we need a powerful reason for change to happen. So my son coming into the world was awesome, and yet the reason why that changed my business was my wife is a fitness-aholic. She teaches gym classes. She's a physical therapist. She has a doctorate. She has 1 million certifications. So she's a health nut. And for her escape from being a mom all day is teaching her gym classes. So back in 2015, she was going and she was teaching classes 2, 3, 4 days a week, or at least working out if she wasn't teaching the class. And I had to figure out how I could be home by 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon to watch my son so that Summer could go work out or teach a gym class. So versus 2014, when I would, maybe go to a networking event, maybe go to the gym, maybe do this, just kind of floating through life. Now I had to figure out how to be purposeful. And between the hours of 8 and 3, I had to get all of my work done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you all that have been in bold, you understand the bold law that all work expands to the time allotted. Well, guess what? My time just went down from 12 hours of floating through the day to a more concise, 6, 7, 8 hours, depending on the day. And what's fascinating about that is when I had, 6, 7, 8 hours versus 12 hours, did I get more done or less done?
More. You got more
More.
done.
I got more done because I went into the office with a purpose. And something else actually happened in the very beginning of 2015. Jake Youngcarelli got into real estate. Do you all know who Jake is?
Of course, yeah.
Yes. So Jake got into real estate, and I was looking for a peer accountability partner, and Jake was looking for a peer accountability partner and someone to frankly teach him a little bit, kind of mentor him a little bit. So Jake and I partnered up as well, and we said we were in, and let me back up. I went to our team leader and I said, we need to use that training room for lead generation so that we can have people come in. I'll promise I'll be in there and lead generate. So Jake and I made a deal that we both had to go into the training room and lead generate every single day. And guess what? Were there days that I didn't want to lead generate?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah, and yet I've got this rookie agent that was going to be there that I told I was going to be there too. So did I show up?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I showed up because Jake was going to be there. And did I want to disappoint Jake, this young agent looking up to me? So a peer accountability showed up. So what happened? We literally had, I think in March, 12 contracts pending, right? And I don't think I had ever closed more than 3 or 4 deals in a month. But just the fact that I had to get all of my work done in 6 or 7 hours, the fact that I was lead generating every day, and I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not sitting here telling you I was pounding out 20, 30, 40 contacts a day. There were days that I got punched in the gut that, a friend bought a house without me and I only made 5 or 10 calls. Yet I did lead generation of some sort every single day, Monday through Friday. It could have been 100 calls, it could have been 5 calls, yet something happened. Now, who can honestly look at themselves in a mirror and say that they lead generate every single day, no matter what?
No.
Yeah, typically very few or nobody in these rooms, right? Because if we get punched in the gut, we let ourselves off the hook for the day. So because of that, the assistant that I had at the time was really what I call a task doer. So this is somebody that if you put stuff in front of them, they could do it, yet they weren't going to go build out a system. They really weren't going to show initiative to grow anything. And yet because of my success at this point, I am calling it my success at that point, the assistant looked fantastic. So other agents started seeing this person and seeing my business blow up, and they're like, maybe I need to hire her. It's a crazy thing. It happens all the time. It still happens today with Amanda. And yet at least Amanda has a part in our growth. Yet this person was a task doer. So she thought she was worth X, and I thought she was worth X. So I told her, listen, if someone's willing to pay you that, by all means, go shop. So So she went and got hired by another agent in our office. So I started the process of looking for my real EA that could be a director of operations. So Amanda, why don't you tell them just a little bit about the recruit select process and what we went through when we met and so forth.
Yeah, so
Speak up. They can't hear that.
I answered a Craigslist ad, and it was in.
So everyone always says, I need an Amanda Doll. I want an Amanda Doll. A, nobody knows what the hell Amanda Doll does for a living. A, I just find that fascinating. B, she came off of a Craigslist ad.
So,
Sorry,
you're okay.
little high energy here.
So I
Speak up a little bit, Amanda.
yeah. So sorry. So
By the way, she normally speaks so loud. We share an office that I can't hear myself think, and now she's on camera and you guys can't hear her.
So I answered a Craigslist ad in October. I guess September, October, I started hunting, and I answered a Craigslist ad, and somebody reached out to me. And so I had my first screening interview in November of 2014 with this person. I still had, I was actively working with a company. So we did our first screening interview then, and then about 2 or 3 weeks passed. I think it was right after Thanksgiving. I did I had done, back then it was Recruit Select. Now it's called Career Visioning. So I had finished the AVA assessment, which is just like the KPA assessment now. And then at the first of the year, that was verified. So we went through this interview process until my first day with Jeff was March 26th of 2015. So November to March, it's 4.5 months of an interview process. What he didn't tell you was my background. So I come from a very corporate background, hospitality and hotel management. And so for me, I had been working with some amazing companies before and very systematized, very detail oriented, very good companies. And yet I'd never been through anything like Recruit Select or Career Visioning. And 4.5 months, people are like, what kept you hanging that long? And actually, when we got to our final meeting, I remember I was like, if he doesn't offer me something, I'm going to have to pass. I've got 2 other offers on the table, and I'm literally just here because I was so absolutely intrigued by the process. And I would say the biggest thing that attributed to that was his ability to cast the vision. If you've heard me teach a class before, or talk on stage or on a podcast or something, you know that I always tie it back to Jeff. Because like he said, people are like, oh, Amanda, oh my gosh, you did all these great things for Jeff. And while that's true, the reality of the situation is I never would have been able to do those things if I wasn't paired up with somebody who leads me the way he has in the last 5 years. And a big part of starting that relationship was his ability to cast the vision. We got to the part in Recruit Select, which was similar to like life and motivation in career visioning today. And when it was his turn to talk, because he'd spent all this time learning about me and asking me questions, when it was his turn to talk, and he's like, well, let me let you into my world just a little bit. Here's what I'm thinking. He gave that, like he could tell you exactly where he wanted to be. I could smell it, I could taste it, I could feel it. He even explained how we were gonna feel when we got there. And I'd never, ever been in the presence of somebody who could deliver such a vision, such a magnitude of vision in that fashion. And the only thing that was stopping him was that he had no idea how the heck he was gonna get there. He didn't have the roadmap, and he was looking for the person that could build that roadmap to get us there. So that was it, 4.5 months of interviewing. He sat me down that last meeting and said, okay, Amanda, here's an offer.
Yeah, tell them that part, yeah.
We can get candid? Yeah.
Well, you don't have to give exact numbers if you don't want, but you can.
No, I'm okay with it.
I need to know.
No, and I'm okay with that. For me, I'm a very transparent person. It doesn't bother me. So we get at that final table, and he's like, okay, so here, he gave me an offer. He's like, so I'm going to step out of the room for a moment, let you look at it, and then I'll come back in. And just to give you guys an idea, I told you I came from hotel management. I grew the corporate ladder very quickly. And by the time I was 23, I was general manager of a hotel. I made somewhere between 85, 90,000 with bonus and such. So coming to Tampa, and I'd only been here about 3-4 years, cost of living is the same, minimum wage is the same, pretty much it's all the same. And so when we're sitting there, I was so bought into the vision and so excited about it. And then he slipped me this offer. He's like, I'm gonna step out. So I read through it, and it literally said, we wanna offer you a position as an executive assistant for $36,000 base and 3% of net profit. and you're expected to work within these hours, and you will get a week vacation. No benefits though, no 401k though, and you're responsible for everything. And I think he slid me something that was about this thick. And he's like, all of this is your responsibility. I was married at the time, and literally his comment was, as long as I won't go to jail for it and your husband won't beat me up for it, it's your responsibility. And I was like, okay. And I didn't even flinch. I really didn't. I don't know if you want me to go further into detail about that.
No, that's fine. So the takeaways as the rainmaker or team owner, business owner, and make sure you're calling yourself a business owner if you have a team, is I didn't shortchange the process because I had been through, a couple part-time assistants, one task steward, EA, and I really wanted to make sure that I hired someone that was quality, that could build systems. And yet, the career visioning process doesn't need to, and frankly shouldn't take 4.5 months anymore. Yet back then in the recruit select process, it certainly can, especially for a key hire, and not that it can't for career visioning if it's a key hire yet. I just want you to know it doesn't have to. The point is we did not skip anything. We did not skip the screening interview. We did not skip the verification of the ABA. We did not skip reference check, which, almost everybody skips reference checks, right? So we did not skip anything. We did the process. So by the time we got to the table, I knew, I didn't know, what Amanda would develop into or what her top end ceiling was. Yet I knew that when I hired her, that she was somebody that was going to do the job, right? Like I didn't have any issue in my head that, hey, if this person comes and works for me, like A, she's going to flake on me because she's been through a 4-month interview process. B, I know she can handle the work, right? So that's really the big takeaway I want you to have from it is we have the game plan. We know what steps we need to take, and we need to stick with them. Make sense?
Yeah, and thank you for sharing all of that, because I know it's always been a question with me, like, what do I offer someone? Different people say.
And remember, that offer was made 5 years ago.
That was 2015.
Yeah. So obviously, listen, if you're hiring today, actually the job market might be pretty weak. Yet, taking COVID out of it, obviously the job market is very, very strong. So you're not going to get Amanda Dahl quality anymore for $36,000. I can let you know that. And
I was at this 5 years ago. I think this, just to touch on this, because I feel like a lot of people are interested in this. The other thing to notate is he was giving me a percentage of net profit, not gross, net. So after expenses, what did the business make? And with that, he also knew that his intentions were to have me look at the finances, open his books to me, and be in charge of the P&L. And while I wasn't handed that day one, those were his intentions. So there was great room for opportunity there, and yet there is this happens all the time where people will bonus on a GCI. And I'm like, you haven't even paid your expenses yet. Hold on a second.
Well, it's profit share versus revenue share. And we all know revenue share doesn't work.
Correct. Or they will bonus on net profit, and then they don't even have a P&L that they're looking at on a monthly basis, and they use their bank account like an ATM. So you can't bonus. There's no way in the world he could have bonused me on something.
Well, think about this. If you're a business owner and you're bonusing an employee off net profit, and you're using your business to pay for, your car, your restaurants, all the stuff that business owners write off. And if you're not doing that below the line, then frankly, shame on you, because those aren't business expenses. I mean, they're just not. There are loopholes in the tax code that you're taking advantage of as a business owner, and yet they're really not business expenses. So, I do run my car through the business because it's a legal business expense, and it is below the line, right? Does that make sense to people? So I'm just using the car as an example, because I could make a lot of our profit disappear, trust me. And yet I don't, because A, that's not the right thing to do in my humble opinion. And so I'm just throwing it out there because Amanda coaches mega agents and EAs now. And what these business owners do is they tell people, yeah, we made $500,000 last year and I'm going to bonus you on profit. But then when you go and you look at their books, yeah, there was $500,000 in owner benefit. And there's a big difference between owner benefit and net profit, you know, because they're siphoning 500,000 out of the business, sure, yet it's not profit because they're spending it on stuff, and the net profit's 100 grand. So if somebody thinks they're going to get bonused on 500 grand and they're really getting bonused on 100, and honestly, that's not, you know, a very in culture thing to do, in my opinion.
Well, and so like, you know, you and I, you take distributions, and when you take distributions, those don't affect my bonus.
Well, distributions don't affect net profit. What affects net profit is paying for stuff. So cars, you know, your credit card for restaurants. I mean, I know business owners that literally have a second home that their business pays for. So they've got a condo on the beach, and all of a sudden, you know, that's an expense for a real estate team. I mean, a condo on the beach is not an expense for a real estate team. I got news for you. So just throwing it out there. And whatever you do with your CPA, you know, to work, you know, inside of the legal tax code is completely up to you and your CPA. I'm just suggesting that as business owners, if we're going to bonus on net profit, we do it on the actual net profit of the business and not after our owner benefits.
And they can
Does that
literally
make sense?
show it up below the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just have to ask your accountant to put certain expenses below the line, and they can certainly do that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
No, so the reason I was bringing up distribution is because I have had coaching clients tell me like, oh yeah, so my bonus would have been this, and yet because they took their distribution, there's not any more money in the account.
Yeah, so that's even more.
Yeah, so I knew it didn't affect the
That's
P&L,
even-
and yet
that's
make
even
sure you
more
pay them
funkery.
their bonus before you take your
That's-
distribution.
Yeah, that's just funkery that they shouldn't do. Okay, anywho, let's move on from that. So any questions, thoughts, comments on the career visioning, recruit, select, and I think the other big thing that she said is casting the vision, right? So, you know, great example is Keller Williams, and Keller Williams is picking up the phone saying, you've reached Keller Williams International, right? When they had 2 offices in Texas. So are you guys really casting the vision? Do you know how to cast your vision? Yes, maybe. Okay. Do you know what your vision is?
In real estate,
How
I'm
did you
working
guys-
on
how did you go about creating your vision?
I'm sorry?
You go about creating your vision. How did you get inspired?
No,
I don't know what the
it's just because
question
I don't know if you have your hand over your mic or something, but you're a little bit muffled, Dan.
My connection.
There
How
you
did how did you go about creating your vision?
Right.
How did I go about creating it? So just spontaneousness for me. So listen, I'm a little bit weird too. So now I put a lot of energy into it. Back then, I mean, throwing out being a 20, 30, $40 million team was just the same as you know, saying hello, you know, to me, because, you know, I just saw that so clearly, and I knew I was capable of that, you know, and a better example would be, you know, fast forward us to today, right? And, you know, for me to really cast the vision of where we're going to be for 3 to 5 years from now is a lot more difficult than it was then, because we go back to my example of the kids being the big why. You know, my financial needs are already met. So you have to find the next reason for business growth, right? So this is where opportunities for other people, you know, really having a passion for helping more people or getting into business with more people has to come into play. Can you all hear me? Because this is freezing up
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, it's just kind of freezing a little bit.
Just one second. I just want to make sure they can hear. And everyone can still hear me?
Yeah, your audio is fine. Your video is frozen.
Okay. Well, as long as audio is good, let's make sure we're on the right Wi-Fi. Okay. All right. We have full power Wi-Fi, so we'll keep cranking. Yeah. So that's the transition that had to happen for me is, you know, how do I transition when my financial needs are met? How do you continue to want to push? Because like Gary Keller says in the Red Book, it's not about the money. So that's really the mindset that you have to have and you have to create, is that there's reasons that you're doing what you're doing outside of base financial reasons. And for me, it is like, I have some very loyal people on my team that have been with me for a long time now, like Amanda, you know, like Matt Bennett, like JR Sastry and so forth. And I really do want them to hit their financial goals and have more opportunity, right? You know,
Everyone's literally frozen. Are we there? Can you guys hear us?
I think we,
Yeah. Your pipeline got choked. Jeff, can't hear you.
Can you guys hear us?
Yes. And you're not frozen anymore.
Everyone's screen blacked out.
Can you see us?
Yes.
Cutting in
Okay.
and out.
We're still cutting in and out.
Yes.
All right, let me attempt to jump on the other line. I don't know.
You cut in and out. We also lost a bunch of
How's that?
people.
Is that better?
Video.
Is that better?
I-
It looks like everyone's camera's turned off.
Hello?
Mine is on, and I just left the meeting and came back thinking I would maybe reset it.
Donna, can you see us?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear us?
Absolutely.
I can hear you guys
We're
a
not
little
frozen?
bit cutting in and out, but I lost most everybody's video, and Jeff's video is frozen.
So I wonder if it's theirs,
If we-
internet,
if-
not ours.
If we leave and come back in, will they? I mean, we're not
Yeah.
the host, right?
I don't think it's us.
I left and came back, and now everything looks like it's running smoothly, and the videos are coming back
We're
up.
not the host, so just leave and go back in. Let's see
All
if
right,
that helps.
hold on.
Now I can hear people now.
Yeah, it might be an issue with Zoom.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
It's
that,
almost
it got
like if-
bad.
Yeah, it's almost like if we had an internet outage.
Yeah. Because it happened to everybody.
Right, exactly. I mean, I can't see anybody's video. I do see Amanda Dahl's picture and, you know, our agent services picture.
You might want to go out and come back in, because that's what I did, and I'm seeing people pop back on now with their video.
Okay, I'm gonna come back out and come back in and see if that helps.
Okay, all right. You're muted, Amanda.
Can you guys hear us?
Yes,
Can you see us?
yes.
All right, let's get going again.
Juan, can you see the videos now? You're muted.
I can see, I
can you hear
can
us?
see Donna. But it's frozen. It may be on my side then. I don't know.
Joe, you're muted. I see you talking.
I signed out and signed back in and still have nobody's video.
Can you guys hear us?
I can hear you.
Picking up,
Yeah, we
Jeff.
can hear you.
All right, well,
We just don't have anybody's video.
If you all can hear us, we're
I can hear you now.
I can
We
see
can hear
you
you.
as well.
okay.
Although
All right,
Jeff,
so we're gonna jump back in.
okay.
So once we have Amanda started, so it's March 26, 2015, and we were just cranking. And Amanda does not have a background in real estate, as you all now know. She had never done anything, and she was the transaction manager, the listing manager. She was doing all of my EA work, and I'm told that sometimes I'm demanding and need a lot of hand-holding. And, you know, she literally got thrown.
There we go. All right.
She got thrown to the fire. I mean, she had to do everything from day one, and I was not training her, basically. So, you know, I did keep the consultant that helped me hire her to train her and put her through her 90 days. So I knew that I was not the answer, and she quickly found out that I was not the answer for questions or anything. She had resources and she had to go use them, and I was busy. So we were cranking. We were pacing by May that if we kept up the same intensity, we would have sold about 120 homes that year. And the previous year, we had only sold 34. And what's interesting is I had a coach at the time, and my original goal, remember, was probably 68 units because we had done 34 in 2014. So we doubled it. So 68 units for 2015. And we're in May, and I'm closed and pended, I think, you know, 60, 65, something like that. Does that sound right?
What year?
Your first year. We're like 60, 65, closed pended in May. And my coach said, well, Jeff, you can either take the rest of the year off or you can raise your goal. So, I mean, what kind of question is that for a coach? So just throwing it out there. If you're ever coaching somebody, don't say that. Because I'm like, you know, I'm still figuring this game out. I'm excited that, you know, we're having the growth that we're having. So what did I naturally do?
Celebrated?
Yeah, I naturally took my foot off the gas, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we ended up closing 85 units in 2015 when frankly, like I said, I mean, it could have been much, much higher than that if it wasn't for me getting laxed and my coach not applying any accountability at that point. So basically from May through the end of the year, I had no accountability. So what I did is I decided to obviously get a new coach. And during that phase, we also decided that, you know, Amanda basically been telling me probably from midway through the year that she needed help. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you can't be are you kidding me? Like, you can be the TC for 100 units and the listing manager and the EA, you got this. Like, I didn't want to hire anybody new. So finally, after she spoke to her coach, me and her had, I believe, a conversation, or even her coach probably called me as well. And it's like, Jeff, why don't you interview other people selling, you know, 100, 150 units and see what their support staff looks like. So finally.
No, that was a bad idea.
Why?
Because you interviewed some and they're like, yeah, they're handling 99 pendings.
Yeah.
You're just moving too slow. And I was like, hold on a minute. And what's really funny is because you talk about 5 years now, like 5 years later, back then, even he was running too fast and he's just like, I heard something. I heard it from a credible, reliable source. It is what it is. And the questions he wasn't asking is like, I don't know, are you an attorney state? Are you guys a title state and you actually handle everything? Also, what is your disc profile maybe? Are you someone that still holds on to things? Or are you somebody that actually gives it all away, like drops and runs like I do? So he wasn't asking the right question. So he came back to me and he's like, yeah, no, I think you're okay. I think that's so funny. That's how you remember the story. So then what I did was an exercise and I gave him proof. So for 2 weeks, I literally wrote down everything that I did and how long it took me. And then I literally had a conversation with him and I was like, look, I know you tell me that I should be able to do all this. And let me just show you, this is how many hours I'm spending in this. And this is how many hours I'm spending in that. And I think when he got realization of that, he's like, oh, I thought that only took you 10 minutes. And I'm like, you think everything only takes me 10 minutes?
Everything does take 10 minutes. It's just what your definition of 10 minutes is. It says we have full internet, and then it says we don't have internet.
That's probably them calling us.
Can't hear you guys.
We're keep going. It is what it is. Amanda. All right, so finally she convinced me that we should hire more. So me being the good leader that I am, said, well, great. Well, if it's your admin department, go hire. So I gave her the autonomy and started letting her go to all the Keller Williams training. So she went to Recruit Select. She learned how to hire. Now, 2016 is upon us. And I frankly, for those of you that want to build a team, that was the most difficult year for us because, we hired a listing coordinator. We hired a couple more agents. I think at one point we were probably up to an 8 or 9 person team. And, I was having to transition from a salesperson to a business owner, and I had never been a business owner before, and that's difficult. So I call 2016 our most difficult year. We made a couple bad hires. We, we went from 85 units to 126, which, it sounds okay, but it really was draining for me because, me and 1 or 2 buyer's agents could sell 120 homes if that's where my focus was. But now I was getting drained from all of these business decisions, all these trainings, all this leadership, bad hires, people making mistakes, and things of that nature. So what I always tell people is that the most net profit that you're going to make is when you're a very small team. When you're the listing agent and you have showing support and or buyer's agent and 1 great admin. So if you're gonna expand past that, you really have to have the grit and know where your vision is and your why, because there's going to be times when you're pushing through that 15, 20, $30 million mark, depending on your price point, frankly, your skill level and energy levels of a lot of pain to really not make any more money. So in 2016, I didn't make more money than I made in 2015. And I can assure you it was a lot less fun than 2015. It was a lot more painful. Would you agree?
You're telling me.
Yeah. Anything you want to add on that note?
No, I mean, yeah, no.
So by the end of 2016, we really were starting to figure it out better. Both Amanda and I had made bad hires. Both of us had learned from that. And I always want to make the point that I was okay with her making a mistake as long as she owned it when it came back. So whether it was my idea or her idea after the Recruit Select process to hire additional support, if it didn't work out, that was okay in my world. Like I was okay with a listing coordinator making a mistake as long as we could fix it and own it. Now, trust me, I'm a little bit more controlled and calm now. I mean, I would get fiery then when the mistakes happen, and yet that was the emotion coming out. Yet logically, I was okay with it from a business owner standpoint because I knew we would learn from it. So we always hear that we have to fail. And logically, I was okay with failing. That doesn't mean that I didn't have reactions, along the way.
So I beg to differ with you on that. I don't know that you necessarily had, you weren't.
Oh, no, I had lots of reactions.
No, what I'm saying though is, it's not because you say I was a lot more fiery. It's not that you were fiery because mistakes were happening. You had the right mindset. You are just somebody who it kills you when stupid little dumb stuff doesn't get done. Because there were no big mistakes. The one big mistake I made my first 30 days with him was I cost him $1,600. And if you've heard me speak before, you've heard me tell that story. Other than that, Amanda didn't make any big mistakes. I didn't lose
the hires.
Either the hires.
No, the hires made lots of dumb mistakes.
Okay, that's my point.
Yeah, dumb
so they didn't make any, but we didn't lose him any listings. We didn't stop, we didn't cause him any money. We didn't do any of that. It was the dumb little stuff that fell through the cracks that when you know his personality, that's the stuff that drives him nuts.
You know how good we can be and you demand perfection. And when you make mistakes on the most simple, basic things, I say, how can we make a mistake here when we need to be up here, right? Has anyone ever been there with me? So I think that's really the learning curve of when you're hiring fresh people. Like we really weren't hiring people with real estate experience. So we're hiring people. We don't have a built out training curriculum onboarding process for real estate agents and or staff. We're figuring it out as we were going. And yet we were willing to put in that work. Now today, I mean, we have a great onboarding system. You know, we've got, you know, amazing 30, 60, 90s. We've got good trainings, and, you know, it's a completely different world. You know, so by the end of 2016, though, we were figuring it out. And, you know, here we go into 2017 with at that point, a pretty strong core team, and we are just cranking again. You know, we hired a full-time TC at this point, which a lot of you probably know, Tanya Linghart. And, you know, so she's taken the TC off of Amanda's plate. So now Amanda is out of TC and listing coordination. So that's exciting. So Amanda was doing my, you know, EA work for me, and she was also holding them accountable. She's also filling gaps, and she's also, you know, just all kinds of all the business stuff.
More on the business, building out the systems and processes at that point. That summer, I actually took 2 months and said, leave me alone. I got to get it documented. I got really good at hiring at that. Well, I say really good at hiring. I got really, yeah. I went to career visioning again. It was masterminding with people now about recruiting, because I knew I was getting ready to take that on as it was going to be a big part of my 20%. So those are more things that are on the business versus everyday tasks in the business.
Yeah, so that's a big transition point of once you get through the pain of a small team and the learning curves. Now we have to grow ourselves, because Amanda and I, you know, while we had great knowledge of work ethic and all of this, we didn't have the hours put in, if you will, right? So you have to put the hours in. You know, it's the whole 10,000 hours to mastery. So this is when you have to perfect the craft. So I got a little ahead of myself, and I love this because I'm, you know, a lot of high D personality types, we see shiny objects. So in 2017, again, we're crushing it. I mean, we're on pace in March, April already to probably do 230, 240 units, which is a big jump over the 126. So what does Jeff do? Jeff gets shiny object syndrome, right? So I become a MAPS coach. I become a KWU trainer. And what happens is, you know, I was still the driver of sales in the business at that point. In fact, March of 2017 was my biggest general real estate month. I had 17 listings closed that I was the lead agent on in March of 2017. So that was my peak of personal production, was March of 2017. Now I become a MAPS coach, I think in May.
Hello. Hi. Yeah, hi. I was calling in regards to an ad that you responded to regarding a house in Wesley Chapel. This is Juan Rodriguez with Keller Williams.
Juan.
Juan, you're not on mute.
Yeah.
It's okay. Let's just talk over.
I see.
All right. So
I can't mute him. I'm not the organizer.
if agent services can mute him, that would be great. If not, I'm just going to talk over him.
I'm going to try to text him and tell him.
Okay. Don't.
No, I'm sorry to hear that.
Let's just talk over. That's fine.
All right. Well,
so I become a
it is what it is.
I become a KWU trainer, and this is definitely a double-edged sword. So with
I definitely understand.
The listing agent, the driver of business.
Yeah, no, not a problem. Not a problem. Well, you know, I'll take your number off of it, so this way at least our team won't keep bothering you.
I know.
All right, let's just give him a minute to finish up.
He's getting off.
All right,
all right, we're back. So
okay.
Yes.
Mute yourself, buddy. We heard your call.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right, so for those of you that have coached or mentored, I can assure you that it is, if you're not used to it, it is definitely a big energy drain, because me being a new coach, I was taking all of those businesses and I was memorizing everything. Luckily, I'm a numbers guy. I have almost basically a photographic memory. So I was literally memorizing all of their businesses, and I was feeling it. You know, you talk about sympathy versus empathy. So sympathy is when you extend an emotion for somebody. Empathy is when you feel it with them. So I was going empathetic with them, and I was taking on all of the stress and energy of their businesses. So what was happening is I was taking the energy away from my own business. So we ended 2017 selling 175 homes for 42.5 million, which on paper again looks great because it's a big jump over 126. Yet it's really a big letdown because the foot just completely came off the gas. The positive is that I learned so much about systems and models and coaching and mentoring, being a coach, because when you coach every single week, of course, you get better. I became a KWU approved trainer. So I've taught the 24 topics of the MREA dozens of times, win with sellers, shift. So now all of these models and everything, I mean, I know off the back of my hand because I've taught it so many times. So that's the great part. You know, we're sitting here though, and you know, we look up, fast forward a little bit, and it's April of 2018, right? And we're pacing to sell 132 homes. We had averaged 11 homes a month so far that year in 2018. And 11 times 12 is 132, which is a lot less than 175. Would you agree? Yes.
Yes.
So I kind of slapped myself in the face and I'm like, Jeff, it's great that you're helping other teams and all this, yet your own team's going to fall apart. I mean, I think Amanda came to me and she's like, Jeff, like, you know, A, you're not making any real money and I get bonused on net profit and there ain't no bonus. Like, that's not cool.
Well, it was more than that too,
Well,
right? Because you were there, you were gone a lot. And when I say gone, I mean you were in a room on calls all day. So the spark, you know, the sparkle in the eyes of the agents and in our organization, because Jeff and his vision are the majority of the reason why they join, is now like you can see that little glimmering hope. That's it. And quite frankly, who was picking up the slack for the back end stuff of your coaching and scheduling? So now I had a whole nother job to manage for him because he's coaching full time and he's training and traveling full time, which means booking his travel, making sure it's all arranged. He knows where he's going. He's got his content. So that was a whole lot. And the guy that everybody stood up in front of and couldn't wait to hear from and learn from. He so technically he was saying, do more, do more, do more. That was about it though. And I can promise you that if you talk to anybody who's ever joined our organization, they'll tell you if it's not the biggest reason, it might be their second biggest reason that they decide to get into business with us is because Jeff is somebody who's in the trenches with you. I'm somebody who's in the trenches with you. I walked in 2 weeks ago and he's got the vacuum in his hand. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, there were crumbs on the floor. And that's who he is. He would get on his hands and knees and scrub the grout with any one of us. And then you all of a sudden see him come in a few moments and go, we're not doing more, guys, do more. Why are we doing our calls? Why are we doing our calls? And then he goes back in his office. And I think some of them could hear the way he was pouring into these people. And I love you, but that's the truth.
Well, yeah. So the aha is you have to take care of your bread and butter. It's okay to have other projects and it's okay to pour into other people. Yet my real estate team is basically my extended family. So who am I to pour into other people and not my own team, my own family? So talk about an awakening. So I woke up and I'm looking at my pending and closed form in April of 18, like I mentioned, and we're pacing to go backwards in a bad way. And we've got agents on my team not making any money, you know, people struggling. And I'm like, man, I got to do something about this. So I stepped back from MAPS. So I resigned from MAPS coaching and obviously got back into production.
Well, and so pause there. So I think there's two things to really point out here. The first one is, and you say this so eloquently when you do talk, I don't know if that was the defining moment. It was around that time though. And he articulated this to me and it's always been in the forefront of my mind. I realized that the real estate team and what we do with the real estate team is what affords us the other opportunities. Absolutely. When we move backwards and people are like, wow, you were doing so good for 2 years. And then you say you became a MAPS coach and all this, but then you work backwards. We don't get those opportunities anymore. So when he says, take care of the bread and butter, yes. And the real estate team affords us those opportunities. I think the other thing too, to point out is earlier on when you were talking about your big why and why you do this and the team and such, a thing that I think he could cast the vision when it was he and I. And then he knew he wanted to go to 40 million or 50 million. And then after that, he knew he would want more. He just didn't know what it was yet. And there was no emotion tied to that. And what I attribute you being able to continue to cast such a clear, big vision is because you then got into relationship with people that you started to care about. And you started to want to provide big lives for. So he's like, well, yeah, 50 million would have gotten me and my family a really great life, but now I have Amanda and I care about her and I want her to have the best life ever. So man, we got to go to 80 million. And now I've got an operations staff of 5 and 10 agents and I love them and care about them. Man, we got to go to 200 million. And so it's because he got in relationship with people and developed that connection with them and being bought into what they're doing that I feel like is what continues to push your vision.
Exactly. So thank you for saying it better than I have.
Always.
Well, it's true. Like I said, when my family's financial needs are met, having 2 kids isn't a why anymore because my kids are spoiled. I mean, I don't need any more money for my kids to be spoiled more. So that's not the driver anymore. So you have to have reasons, right? So what's fascinating is, one of my drivers, believe it or not, is what Amanda said. It's also just investing. Like I love buying real estate. And, sometimes you need money to do that. Sometimes you need money for an opportunity because that's one of the other things that we have afforded to us in this business is lots of opportunities come through our desk. And I never want to have to say no to a really good opportunity. And saying no to a really good opportunity means I didn't set myself up for success. So I'm always looking for people to partner with or so forth, and I want, Amanda and I are talking about buying investment properties together, right? For instance, so there's things that you have to set yourself up for. And honestly, you always need capital. You can never not have enough capital. And that's for the other people because I own, rental properties. I want to help Amanda have rental properties. I want everyone on my team to have rental properties. So if I can be a catalyst for that, that's an awesome thing, right?
Absolutely.
So, we have a thing this year, obviously, COVID is attempting to put a little hinge on it, and yet we're kicking COVID's ass, or we're fighting back on COVID right now. Pardon my French. And, in just the last 6-7 days, I'm pretty sure we've put 9 under contract. So, there's so much opportunity even now, just throwing that out there. So back to 2018, we get back into production. I get in the trenches again with the agents, and we end up selling 181 homes, which is better than 175. Yes. So we really salved that year because we were really pacing for 130 halfway through the year. So what I learned is, really the refusal to go backwards. So when my own nature allowed me to make missteps, I would recenter myself to what I really intend on, which is growth, right? For myself and the others around me. And we always have to recenter on that and know what the bread and butter is, because guess what? You all wouldn't be listening to me right now if we didn't sell a lot of real estate. You know what I mean? I now own a title company. I wouldn't own a title company if I didn't sell a lot of real estate. I have lots of other opportunities I'm looking at currently that I wouldn't have if we didn't sell a lot of real estate. So we have to make sure that we take care of the core business, which is the real estate business first and foremost. So always remember that. I've learned my lesson because I've done it a couple times. So we're in 2018. We're really at that point, obviously the strongest team that we had ever been. And yet I was again looking to get some help. And this is, if I look at what we've done, every year there's a challenge, or every year I make a mistake or somebody makes a mistake that causes something for us to learn from. So 2019, we had been hiring agents. I think we actually had probably more agents then than we have now. And I decided that I wanted a sales manager.
What happened?
Can you see
You
us
lost
now?
me
We're
again.
getting messages that we froze.
Oh, you've been constant for me.
Donna, are you at home?
I am at home.
Yeah, see, I don't think it's us. I think it might just be Wi-Fi in other areas. this because she's in another county. Okay, so I mean, it's being recorded, so keep going.
Okay, so I had been career visioning somebody actually for a long time. We had started the process looking at him as an expansion director. And then, I got this crazy idea that maybe I just kind of push him into the sales manager role. And what's interesting is I had done the career visioning process, and there were the red flags. Red flags were there. In fact, Howard told me the red flag. Tanya on my team told me the red flag. Amanda told me the red flag. And I was just this whole Jeff knows best mode that, no, yeah, we can work around that. And I thought using my abilities and my natural skills that I could kind of offset what those red flags were.
Now pause.
Yeah.
Why? Let's go. And I don't like a why question. It's the lowest question on the triangle, and yet this is intentional. What? Why?
Well,
why?
was,
why did you? Because if you saw those red flags in me when you were going to hire an EA, you would have booted me out the window.
It was the easy button. Why was it the easy button?
Why was it the easy button?
Because I already knew them.
Well, no, not just that, and yet why were you willing to look past the red flags? Why were you willing to skip some of the pieces? Why?
Well, it was growth at any cost, and it was also now doing one-to-ones again with 12, 13 people was hurting my head.
Yes.
So I made a couple mistakes. It was doing all of the one-to-ones on the same day with everybody, and we didn't have a mentor or a production scale on our team yet. So
in essence, it was to take stuff off of your plate that really you just really didn't want to do anymore.
Well, that's right. I wanted to take something off of my plate that I didn't want to do anymore, and that's the truth. And but what happened is I forced somebody into a round hole, and the red flags were there again almost immediately. And this is a key hire. I mean, this is a sales manager, and a couple mistakes. I did not bring him softly into the team. I let him free from day one, mistake one, right? Because again, this is someone that I knew, and I thought knew better on certain things. So I allowed him to just go versus me lead with him next to me and bring him in to the fold. Second mistake, I knew after 2 months that I should let him go. And it took me 4 months to let him go. And the damage that a key hire can do in your business in 4 months is immense. FYI. So what happened is right after, again, the now like April, May, June, our production really wasn't increasing, and I wasn't making any money again because I was allowing, additional salary, additional bonus. And I wake up and I'm like, this is not a fit. Like, he lost the sales team. You can't be a sales manager of a sales organization and lose the sales team. So finally, I had to do what I had to do, and I had to let him go. And what happened is our sales exploded that summer, and yet the damage of the cultural change and the negativity in the team was already there, and it already tainted multiple agents on the team. And I didn't know how to fix that at that point with them. So we became, a team that's selling 20 plus homes a month, and yet the culture was gone. And when the culture is gone, that means your foundation is crumbling. So we did have, some attrition. We had to cut the cancer out, as they say, right? So we had to get the negativity off of the team. And that's a difficult thing because there's some people that chose to leave the team, and there's some people that we kind of pushed out of the way off of the team. And that affects your mindset, because when you're the leader and you're looking at these people as you're an extended family, and when they're leaving and deep down that they're a better fit on your team than they are on another team, or they are, on their own, you take that on. So I allowed a lot of negativity onto my shoulders, which caused me to then not be the leader I needed to be as far as holding people accountable. Now, we ended the year selling 234 properties, which again is a decent growth over 181. And yet again, self-inflicted wounds. So the good news is every time we have a self-inflicted wound or we make a mistake, what do? We learn from it. And that's the key. The acronym is FAIL, F-A-I-L, which is fail,
Often.
No, fail, evaluate, implement, or no, I said the wrong thing. It's, pardon my French. It's, the acronym is, oh, I'm sorry. LIFE is the acronym. I got my brain got messed up there. So LIFE is the acronym. So what happens is we learn, we implement, we fail, then we evaluate. So the good thing about Amanda and I is obviously I've told you lots of different stages of failing. And every time we've done that, we learn from it, we evaluate from it, we learn from it, and we re-implement, right? Would you say that's true? So what's fascinating is our real estate team today is, again, by far the best real estate team that we've ever had. The damage that was done from last year showed up in January of this year. We had our worst closing January in 5 years.
5 years.
Literally worse than when it was just, me and my brother. And yet coming out of that, again, our business has accelerated. And even with the setbacks from COVID, we're performing at a level that is at the upper echelons of real estate teams in Tampa Bay and the Keller Williams system, right, in South Florida. So what we've learned now this year, we literally went from a full in-person team and we became a virtual team overnight. And I'd like Amanda, I think her back's a little messed up, so part of her sitting. I'm going to get her some medical massage or get her feeling good.
No, your energy's flowing. I wanted to get your flow.
Yeah, and I do want to make sure that we save 15, 20 minutes for Amanda and I to talk about COVID and the current situation as well. So just walk them through the transition of what we did.
Yeah, so like he said, Friday we were all in the office, and Monday everyone's working virtually. And what we knew first and foremost is that we wanted to put as fast as we could put systems and processes in place that would allow us to not lose first and foremost the culture of our organization, because that really is that's the glue that holds this whole thing together. There are going to be one-offs with people. Someone's going to have a death in the family. Somebody's going to have a hard time. Someone's going to get sick. Something's going to happen. And so you'll have one-offs in all your team. And yet when you have a culture that is so strong where we carry each other through those times and we're really there to support each other, that is what takes us as far as we ever could dream of going. And so when COVID happened, he and I were very much in alignment. It was almost like, oh my gosh, okay, so what's our first priority? Let's make sure that we do not lose Gary Keller, if you ever have heard him talk about his journey in building Keller Williams, he talks about when he started expanding and having, recruiting in different areas. And he got to a point where he was having to drive to each location from us. So he lived in Austin and he was having to go drive to these different locations so that he could spend a day training them, spend a day talking to them. The reason that he did that is because he needed them to feel the love. Gary was the one who recruited these people. And so now they're in a faraway location. They're not right there in the brokerage that he's in or the town that he's in. And so he realized very quickly that if I don't pour into them the way I was pouring into the people that were right here by me, I'm going to lose them. And so that was, like I said, we were in complete alignment. Like, this is what we need to focus on. How do our agents, our staff still feel our love and support, know that we're here going through this with them, and feel like we're still accessible to them. Like, their world just didn't crash and we're still here and it's business as usual. We've just got to pivot some things. So we implemented some communication systems. So we've always done a power up at 8:30 in the morning. And we start that every morning other than team meeting morning, because we have team meeting. And we do gratitude, gratitude, intentions, and then report our numbers. Break into script practice and role play, and then straight into lead gen. So that was the one call that we would do a day. And then I would have one-on-one achievement meetings with the operations staff once a week, and Jeff would do one-on-one achievement meetings with the agents once a week. When COVID shifted, we implemented additional communication. So after the power up, Jeff and I break. I do a power up Zoom call with all of the operations people at 9, so directly after power up. And we go through that call in detail. What are we working on today? Enlist help with one another on the call if we need to, and set ourselves up for success. Then we get back on a Zoom call at 2 o'clock in the afternoon so that we can review everything we were working on, mastermind around the struggles, enlist help if we need to at that point, and then set ourselves up for success tomorrow. So power up, 2 ops calls a day. So we're on 3 calls a day with ops. From a agent perspective, Jeff is doing daily check-ins with the agents. Now with them, it could be text or phone call, just depending on the vibe. And yet he's doing that communication with them every single day. So not only weekly achievement meetings, he's daily checking in on them. And here's the reality. That's a lot of high eyes, right? Guys who are social, life of the party, gals that like to be popular and talk to people and do all of those things. And now we told them, go home and you can't leave your house. And oh, by the way, double down on your activities. And oh, by the way, double your contacts. And oh, by the way, and oh, by the way. And their mindset is already off because of what's going on. And now we're putting all this additional stuff on them. So Jeff had to be in tune with that. So that was our biggest and most immediate pivot, was making sure that the team knew that we were here. We love them. We are here. Whatever it is that they're going through, they can pick up the phone and call us. We're going to work through it with them, and keeping that momentum going, keeping the energy high, keeping the positivity rolling, celebrating the wins. Even, you know, they might not have been little wins that we would have celebrated before. And yet if you get through your 40 contacts a day, that's a big win, even if we didn't even set an appointment. It's just a big win that we did them. So that would be our biggest and most immediate pivot.
Yeah, so I just want to add a couple of things. What's fascinating is because of the agents that are open house based and networking based, because we do, you know, we're a database first team, and then, you know, obviously we do work with the agents so that they can lead gen in the manner that's best for them. They've been going back and calling all of our archive leads, and we are pulling out so much gold, you know, so we don't spend a lot of money on leads for a team our size, yet we do some. And we've been going back and now calling through all of those old buyer leads. And we literally just picked up a buy sell. We picked up another buy. I mean, and we've pulled probably 10, 12 people out and put them into a nurture program. So please go back to all of your old leads. If you have leads from a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, please go back and call them, because there is so much gold in our lead pool that would have frankly probably gone neglected if COVID didn't happen, that we're going back through and combing out. I also wanted to make another point that I meant to mention. So I had mentioned that when last year at one point, I mean, we got bloated on agents, right? And because we got too bloated on agents, we lost some of our value proposition. So, you know, you're here, and I really believe that if I didn't give you one lead, that our team provides enough value that most agents would want to be on a team like ours. Our leadership, our administrative support, the family feel, the coaching training. I mean, we give a lot of intangible value, a lot of tangible value, and yet agents still want leads, right? They just do. That's a reality of the situation. And what happened is, because we got to too many agents, we couldn't provide people 50% of their business from us. And what Gary Keller has taught me, now I'm so fortunate to be in Gary's mastermind. If you have agents, we really need to give them everything that I've said. That's almost like a given now. And we still have to provide enough leads and appointments that we're providing 50% of their business. So our mission is simple. It's to provide 50% of their business and then coach them, train them for them to get the other 50% of their business to hit their goal. So if you're adding agents to your team, make sure you keep that formula in check.
And tell them why you do the other 50 that they need to go do it.
Well, the way I word it, or you may be talking about something I don't know.
No, the reason why, like what someone might say, like, why is it 50-50? Why do you want them to have 50% of the business and you want to teach them to go get 50% of the business? What's the teach you do? It allows them to get business in a shift. Because of what if that 50% went away because there were no leads to provide them? They have to know how to go out there and hunt for themselves as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one wants to feel dependent. They want to feel like they're learning something and valuing, you know.
Exactly. Well, what our philosophy is very much like Keller Williams. For those of you that have been on the ALC, you've heard this before. There's a dependent model, there's a independent model, and there's an interdependent model. We're running an interdependent real estate team. So we're literally just taking Keller Williams systems and making it at the team level, right? Does that make sense? So yeah, I just didn't know where she was going with that. I mean, that's a good point. There's lots of good points. The point though that I think I would add on top of that as well is that, yeah, we are all in this together. So that's why it's just 50-50 is a perfect win-win, right? Because we don't expect agents to sit on their butt and not, look for business. Yet we can plug their database into our systems, right, to help them get more business out of their own database. So if we can help you get twice as much business out of your database than you would on your own, is that a win? Yes.
Yes.
If we can give you leads, if we can give you appointments, is that a win? If because of the amount of listings that our team takes, give you prime open house opportunities and sign call opportunities, is that a win? Yes. So it's really making sure that we're always in a win-win relationship with people. And that can look a little different on different agents. We just have to be upfront because we don't need 100 agents on our team. We just need the amount of agents on our team that their goal equals our team goal. So 2 more points on this. When we do business planning, we don't set a goal, Amanda and I. I mean, I obviously have a number that I'd like to hit, don't get me wrong. And yet when we sit down with the agents and they pick their own goals, we add up their goals and that's our team goal. I don't go in and dictate, hey, this year our goal is 360. Now let's figure out how we're going to do it. What we do is we take their goal and add it up. And that is the team goal that we promote, that we coach to and attempt to hold them accountable to. And I do say attempt because we can't make people do something. So what we do is we take their goal and then Amanda and I have a meeting and we really evaluate their goals and see if we think it's realistic or not. Because if somebody sold 24 homes last year and they say they're going to sell 60 this year,
He'll coach to that every day because he will. Like, I'll coach you to that,
Yeah.
and we know he's good
yeah.
for 24. So that's what we're going to rely
So
on.
what I'm going to say is, okay, I see a little bit of change in his activities, a little bit of change in his skill level. So maybe he's worth 30. So we're going to actually write down 30 next to his name, not 60. And then we have our number that we think is the real number that we're definitely going to hit it with these people. And then if that number doesn't hit the number that I really want, then it's our job to go hire more people to bridge that gap, for myself to sell the real estate to bridge that gap, or to find out who on that team can we pour into to raise their lid that wants their lid raised so that we can bridge the gap. But it's our job to bridge the gap. It's not our job to dictate to the agents, oh, you have to sell 10 more, because that's never going to work. It can never be a dictation.
Well, and I think you bring up, like, this is something that if I was you guys and I didn't know this, I would be writing it down, because we didn't say, oh, we spent 2 days business planning and the team said they do this, yay. And then we got halfway through the year and didn't really evaluate or take the time to understand and review it. And then halfway through the year go, oh, we're not going to meet goal. Like, can you see how we were proactively working on the back end and making sure we knew the real numbers for the agents, setting ourselves up for success so that we even identified that there was a gap that we needed to fill. We didn't just go with whatever the team said and then halfway through the year blame it on the team's not showing up.
And let's be real candid. COVID has punched all of us in the gut the same. So the initial punishment that we've all taken is across the board. It's hit me, it's hit you, it's hit all of us pretty much equally, right? The difference in coming out of COVID is how you respond to it. Now, I can tell you that COVID has cost our team at least 30 transactions. And that is a conservative number in my opinion. It has cost us at least 30 transactions. So we have to be real about that. Now, can we make some of that up? Absolutely, and we will. And do we have to be honest with ourselves that we just lost 30 transactions? Do we need to adjust our goal? What is our real goal now? Are we willing to do the work to make those 30 up? Or are we not willing to do the work to make the 30 up? So your number could be different. Maybe COVID has cost you 1 deal, 2 deals, 3 deals, 5 deals, whatever it is. Are you willing to put the effort in to make it up? Pretty simple, right? The other thing I wanted to bring up is the pain point that I had at the end of 2018 and 19 was caused by me putting all of that pressure on myself and not allowing the people on my team capable of taking some of it to have it. I was keeping it for myself, right? So what we developed out of that in 2019 is a mentor program. So the new agents that join our team now have a mentor. So I am not directly coaching them one-on-one until they're through their 90 days. So I'm not the one who has to get into the weeds and teach them how to, what's the Team Borham way of setting a listing appointment? What's the Team Borham way of doing anything? So I only come in on their first meeting, their 30-day meeting, their 60-day meeting, their 90-day meeting. It's not a weekly thing. So my head doesn't have to explode from getting too far into the weeds. And yet I get to do the key points with them so that they're getting Jeff, I'm getting involvement with them, we're getting to know each other. And then when they come through their 90 days, if they make it through their 90 days and they're still with the team, then I can take them to the next level with them, right? We can work together. So that was a big thing, because now coaching the team doesn't hurt my head anymore, because now I'm coaching people that are in production. Does that make sense? So what was hurting my head was taking the new people on the team that didn't know what they were doing and so forth. I'm not made to train brand new agents. It is not in my DNA. I can come in and do it one time, and then I can do it a month from now. I can do it the next month. I'm not the guy that should be doing it every week and every day. So you have to set yourself up for success. So is that you? Can you do that, or do you need a support system? Because now that we have the mentor program, I can coach every agent on the team that's been in business with us for 90 days, because we can speak the same language. I know what their goals are. They now know what it takes to do business, whether they were a brand new agent or someone in production that's joined our team. Does this make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how much did you talk about, like, what we're doing for lead gen on COVID?
No, I just literally talked about communicating. I just said doubling our efforts.
Okay. So let's talk about COVID is this till 12 or 12:30?
The one.
Till 1.
Oh, we have a whole hour? Okay. What questions do we have? Let's get some participation.
You have a whole hour, yet you are overlapping with Jessica and her town hall meeting at noon.
Well, since I was just speaking, and I mean, that's okay. Since I was just speaking and there was no interaction, we went way faster through that than we normally do. So let's go back. Let's get some Q&A. What questions do you guys have? Where do you want me to go? Is there anything else you want covered?
So typically, I wrote down a bunch of questions.
A lot of questions.
So Dan asked early on, when done, can you re-summarize what and how you added people to your team, how your team production changed with each hire, and what you offered prospects to attract them to your team at different steps of the growth?
All right. Before that's a big question. Does anyone else have any other questions first? All right, we'll start with Dan's if no one else has anything. All right, so
let's recap. So re-summarize what and how you added people to your team.
Okay.
So 2015.
Yeah. So 2014 we did 34 units. That was my brother being basically like a part-time buyer's agent and a part-time admin with an admin. So we would have a part-time admin, and then Bill would help me, and I was the main salesperson. Then when we rolled into 2015, it was Bill and I. Bill was now working like a full-time buyer's agent. He kind of matured into that role. We then hired Amanda, and what happened is, I'm running around like a crazy person doing everything that I can remember with my limited hours. I'm literally home by 3 o'clock every day. So we brought on a second buyer's agent. I actually started feeding them leads because Bill didn't want to do more than he was doing, and I didn't want to take on any buyers at that point. So we brought on a lead flow. We started a 50-50 relationship with an agent, so basically a quasi team member without him formally being on the team. And in April, and then he formally joined the team, I believe, in July. So, and that's accurate.
Correct,
I saw your face.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's accurate. So Matt Bennett was the first agent other than my brother to join the team, and he's now the #1 agent on our team. Last year, he sold $15 million in production. So, and he's still with us, obviously, and kicking butt. So we brought Matt on, and that alleviated. So between Matt and Bill, Matt being a brand new agent and Bill wanting to work at the level that Bill wanted to work on, I really had like one full-time beast buyer's agent, if that makes sense. So Bill and Matt combined was one full buyer's agent because Matt was brand new and Bill, his work level was only where it was. So then we hired a listing.
Jeff, that took you from 34 to like 85. Is that roughly?
To 85, and honestly, 85 was way underperforming. We had about 60 closed and pended in May of 2015. So that's with me taking my foot off the gas because I really, when I'm on, I can sell a lot of houses. I think I mentioned I had 17 closings in March, and it's not like that was like a special month. I mean, in February, I had like 12 closings. In April, I had like 14 closings. So it's not like all of my listings just fell into that one month. Like when I'm cranking, like I can sell a lot of houses. So 85 was underperforming, yet that was me just having a growth year and taking my foot off the gas. And Amanda and I, by the end of the year, I really was working with Amanda a lot. Like you heard me say in the beginning of 2015, it was really just me pushing her saying, hey, you and your coach figure it out. By the end of the year, I was more involved with her, like, okay, we need to hire a listings manager. What does this look like? So we really started game planning more on how we were going to build a real business. Then I don't know the exact time frame.
2016.
Beginning of 2016, yep. We hired a listings manager, right? And so that means we had already hired. So Matt had come on. And now Matt knows what he's doing. So Dan just moved. So we brought Matt on, and now Matt knows what he's doing. So Matt's like a real agent. And then
we had the other Matt.
So yeah, we brought in MJ.
And we brought in Dan.
Yeah, and then we brought in Dan, who was doing. Some of you may know Dan Ebert. He was actually was with Bel Air for a moment. So and then.
Well, JR was later on that year.
Yeah, that's the end of the year. And then Casey Dunn. So in the beginning of the year, we probably popped to like 5-6 people. And then by the middle of the year, we got up to 8 or 9 people. So that's 2 administrative staff, myself, and then the rest are agents. And that year we closed 126 units. Okay, so then we rolled into 2017, and we started out, like Tanya literally started the first day of work 2017. So Tanya has been with us exactly 3 years and 4 months now.
And then at the end of 2016.
Slow down. Well, the end of 2016.
Miranda, because we started 2017.
No, but that's just we got rid of someone and hired someone. So it's still we have a listing coordinator.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking Shirley, not Miranda, because we had Shirley part-time. Got it.
Yeah, and then basically from middle of 2016 through now, we've always either had a part-time administrative assistant, a VA. We've actually done well with interns. So there's always like a part-time person. So let's just put them on the side. So we started 2017. Now we have a 3-person operation staff, Amanda, a TC, and a listing coordinator. And in 2017, we really floated between being a 10 to 12 person team. So depending on, during that year, we floated up to having 1 ISA and myself and 6 or 7 other agents. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So Dan, as far as the vision part of that and whatnot, it was easy because we were growing. I mean, every year we've sold more real estate than the year before. And at this point, I had already taken my brother that was a brand new agent and turned him into a 100 GCI agent on a team. I had already taken Matt, who was a brand new agent, and at that point turned him into a $75,000 GCI agent. So I could look at brand new agents or agents that were in production a little bit and say, hey, on our team, we can take the administrative piece off of your plate and I can help you make $75,000 to $100,000 working less with a team. How does that sound? So now I had a very short, simple value proposition that I could say to agents because, who the heck doesn't want to make $100,000 a year and work less and not deal with paperwork? I don't know many, unless you're making way more than that, I mean, I can recruit someone that net 120 last year and talk them into taking 100 without doing paperwork. You know, that's a pretty easy conversation. So because of my early success with my brother and Matt, that really gave me the marketing piece to pitch our team to agents. And now, I mean, Matt last year made, I might be slightly off on this. He made $165,000, $170,000, and he works 25 hours a week. So, you know, there's very few people that are in real estate sales that net. Remember, this is net because you can be an individual agent and GCI of 170, and what are you really going home with?
Yeah, half that.
100, 120, whatever. Matt net 165, 170 last year. So that's a very easy, and now we have multiple agents on the team making six figures. You know, so it's an easy vision cast now to say, hey, you know, Matt will get in front of a recruit and say, hey, obviously I've put 5 years in to get to where I am, and yet I work 25 hours a week, and this year he'll probably make 200,000 even with COVID. That's a pretty good life. In fact, if I could trade my life that I have right now to 25 hours and 200, I would consider it, right? So
that was from an agent perspective.
I know I went off on a little tangent. So.
No, what were we saying in terms of value proposition for operations and admin? At that time, I would say that I was really using myself as an example when I would talk to people. So we need another piece of leverage. I was absolutely scouting for people that were growth oriented, that were looking for opportunity. I'm not somebody who's motivated by money. I like the learning and growing and not reaching a ceiling of achievement or a ceiling for opportunity. So those are the people that I was scouting, and people who I was looking in places where they weren't in real estate, because from an administrative side, people who have been in real estate a while, they've developed bad habits a lot of the times. It's not all of them. There are some amazing ones. And Tanya's actually, she had been in the business. She'd been licensed 12 years and worked for another team in our market center when she was looking for a job. Yeah, sorry, 2 people in our market center. So Tanya was like the unicorn in all of this. And yet I was looking for people outside of the industry that were young, that were hungry. And then I was using myself as an example. So let me tell you what we did in the last 2 years. Let me tell you where I've come from. So if you're someone who's hungry and you're someone who wants to be a part of the core that's building this massive empire and learn and grow and develop all of these other opportunities and things, then I'm looking for you. So that's kind of how I marketed to those.
Yeah. So just to finish walking you through the evolution. So obviously, you know, our production from 2017 kind of stagnated because of my wandering to other things, right? So in 2018, our team pretty much stayed the same, right? The only the TC stayed the same, Amanda stayed the same. You know, we had turnover at the listing coordinator role. But you know, we just replaced that role. So we still had 3 administrative people. And then
what year are you talking about?
18.
And so that's when we implemented the intern program. So high school interns that would work with us for a semester or 2, they would come in and literally do like data entry stuff. And I was working with the director of the 3 counties for the schools here. And so she would send me people like, oh, this person wants to know about real estate marketing, or this person's considering going to school about this and this and that. And so we would bring them in as interns, and they'd work for free.
Yep.
Yeah, they're high school interns.
True story.
And we did 3 or 4 rotations of that.
Yeah. 2018 is really, you know, par for the course. Rolling into 2019, we added our, at the end of 2018, I apologize. It was 2018, we hired our first marketing person. So we had a standalone marketing person. Instead, up until then, the listing coordinator was doing base marketing and listing coordination. So in 2018, at the end, we split it out and we had a full-time marketing person. So now we have 4 full-time operations staff. So rolling into 2019, we went up to 6 other staff because we had a sales manager, and then we hired like a office coordinating care person.
Client care.
That's the right word. So we bloated up to 6 full-time staff, and and at one point we went up to 3 ISAs. This isn't we didn't have the 6 staff and the 3 ISAs at the same time. We went back down to 4 staff and then 5 staff, and then we bloated up to 3 ISAs. I let 2 go fast. Now we're back to 2 ISAs and 5 staff. Does that make sense? So 5 staff is really where we should be. For a team like ours, it's really 4 people in the trenches, and then, you know, Amanda helping me build out for bigger and better. So I'm usually always 1 person over staff. Like, you could run this team with 4 people, especially with the knock that we had in COVID. Now our TC now does have her own VA as well. So our TC has VA support, because I got news for you. Talking, you know, let's just talk COVID for a minute as well. The likelihood of our governor renewing a stay-at-home order is that. So as far as the state level goes, we're probably not going to have a stay-at-home order, right? Now that's going to leave it up to counties and municipalities to see if they want to do anything, you know, or what guidelines are going to be implemented. You know, for instance, you know, I don't need to go into the weeds with you guys, but the local municipalities are going to implement whatever guidelines they think are appropriate. And because of that, though, when the overall stay-at-home order lifts, you know, my opinion, and my opinion isn't just mine, it's based off of me doing immense research, speaking to other mega agents, economists, financial advisors, analysts. You get the idea. I mean, I talk to a lot of people. There is going to be a significant pop in the real estate market. So what's interesting about that is we need to be ready now, even though our production is down, to have the support staff to handle an elevation in production. Does that make sense? Yeah. So our staff, I mean, literally, Amanda's been working with our staff the last month to just in the last month, our systems have improved even more dramatically than they are. I mean, we already had darn good systems, right? Our systems are significantly better today because we're fine-tuning everything. And if you look at this whole COVID thing and going virtual and improving our systems, it's really set us up to be an expansion hub like you can't believe. So there's good in every negative situation. So because of that, if I was you guys, the reason I'm bringing that up is now's the time you can look at your business and tweak systems that you have or work with staff that you have, because, you know, this COVID thing is not going to last forever. You know, we're about to pop coming out of it. And, you know, that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a great thing if you've been setting yourself up for it lead generation wise. And if you have the ability to take market share, we're going to take massive market share coming out of this. For lead generation, obviously you all know you should be doing care calls, care texts, care Facebook messages to your database. There's also massive opportunity in the for sale by owner world because it's not as easy for sale by owners to sell as it was 2 months ago. New referral partners. Everybody has time for a Zoom coffee right now. So if there's a financial advisor, a CPA, an attorney, a HR director, a wedding planner, whatever floats your boat as far as who you like for referral partners, you should be reaching out to these people and setting up Zoom coffee appointments, because guess what? They got time to talk to you. So are you taking advantage of your time or their time in order to build deeper relationships with new referral partners?
Joe, to answer your question, they are in office. They're not virtual.
We hired a virtual ISA one time. I didn't like it. So, you know, I'll probably never do that again.
So Dan said, when and which systems, processes, lead sources did you use that you saw change your team's trajectory over the past 7 years, 5 years?
Yeah, so no lead sources have changed our trajectory. The lead source that's changed our trajectory is our databases. So we, you know, we are an event-heavy team. I mean, last year we did 7 different events for clients and databases. So we are all in on databases. I'm personally all in on attorneys. I'm probably if I'm not already, I'm becoming the #1 agent for attorneys in Tampa Bay. I love probate. I love family law, you know, and I'm getting that reputation around me. So we are all about database. We have bought leads. You know, I've given a tiny bit of money to Zillow. We obviously don't anymore. Zillow leads never got us anywhere. Internet leads never got us anywhere. Pounding expireds and FSBOs has brought us listings and business, but it didn't change our trajectory, right? What's changed our trajectory is foundational items like database, period, the end, right? I mean, I know some of you, Joe, myself, we've pounded plenty of FSBOs and for sale by owners in our day. And yet, the last couple of years, like it's tough to convert a expired or FSBO in the economy and the market that we've had the last couple of years, Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was thinking, Jeff, as you were talking about database, I was thinking about the Michael Mayer coaching
Yeah.
you did, and
Yes,
I thought
I've read and listened to the 7 levels many times. I was coached by one of Michael Mayer's coaches in 2014. I've spoke on panels for Michael Mayer at events. So yeah, the 7 levels of communication was one of the core pieces that set me up for success, 100%. Any other thoughts, questions, comments?
About that specifically?
No, about anything.
If we were going to take something that you brought up and like just, make action, like you started with, knowledge is useless unless you put it into action. What would that thing be that just, the first couple things that come to mind from what you shared with us today?
Yeah, obviously make sure that you do some form of lead generation every day. I think I went over that really quick, and I don't know if it's sunk in enough. If we don't do our job every day, are we going to have customers to service? So it's interesting. I had this conversation with an agent on my team yesterday, and he said that and mind you, this is one of my best friends on the whole planet. So him and I may speak a little bit differently to each other than I do most of the agents on my team. And what he said to me is, he said that I have, and he's not saying this in a malicious way. That's why I let you know he's one of my best friends. That I have told him that he doesn't work hard enough sometimes. And he's like, I'm all over my customers, blah, 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 like justifying himself. And I'm like, hang on, slow down. I'm like, let me just correct one thing. If I've ever said the word work and not enough to you, work equals lead generation. Work doesn't mean that if you have a customer, you don't take care of them, because when he has a customer, he's one of the best agents there is in Tampa Bay. He's great. Customer service focused. He's extremely knowledgeable. I mean, he knows his stuff. He's accessible. He's on top of it. So when I say, if I've ever said work to you, I'm talking about lead generation, because he has one of the strongest databases of anyone on my team. So he gets business just because he talks to his core database. I'm like, what would happen if you expanded talking to your core database to the next layer of your database? That's what I mean. If you would literally, this guy, if he would just talk to 5 people a day outside of it, like he's one of these guys that he has his core 20 people over to his house every month or two for a sporting event or a potluck. He's got in-group text messages with them. So his core group is so strong and actually fights for him and gets him business. What I'm saying is, what happens if you just took that another layer out and another layer out, and you went to networking events and developed relationships because you're such a likable guy. People want to do business with you. That's what I mean by work. You've all probably heard Gary Ubaldini talk about what are the, what's a work day, lead generation, follow up, so forth. And if you don't do those in a day, then you didn't have a work day. Make sense? Okay. Any other questions? We are going to wrap up. Thank you all for being on. I know we're a little early yet, just because of the Zoom. We went faster than typical. So I hope you got something out of it. God bless. If you all ever have any questions or need anything, Amanda and I are accessible and happy to help.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Let us know if you need anything, guys.